Hello and welcome back to Lorcana Villain. My name is Baker, and today we'll be looking through the last of the revealed cards from the upcoming set, Ursula's Return. There has been a whole bunch dropped over the past few days, so I'm not going to spend too long on the intro, although I will admit I was going to spend the first 10 minutes of this episode doing 10 minutes of passive-aggressive yapping, for I am a yap god. I'm beginning to feel like a yap god, all my villains from the front to the back nod. So let's hear it for the yapping. If you're a fan of the yapping, which many people showed me that they were when I found a complaint about the yapping, and I would politely remind you that I spent a lot of time putting in timestamps so that you can skip said yapping if you so choose. I'm really worked up about this, I don't know why. It's not even that I mind. Like, I could watch someone make a comment saying that I think Lorcana Villain is terrible, and I'd be absolutely fine with that, genuinely. But complaining about the yapping, I don't understand, because you can literally just skip the timestamps. So in that vein, if this video gets 100 likes, I will spend the first 10 minutes of the next video yapping. I'll tell you a tale from my youth. Maybe I'll tell you about the time I broke both of my arms at the same time. Who knows? But other than that, we are going to get on. But I do have one announcement to make. What a world, what a life. Mind blown. I am now an official affiliate of Dragon Shield. If you've never heard of Dragon Shield, they are the TCG accessories company, as far as I'm concerned anyway, specialising in sleeves, deck boxes, play mats, a bunch of things. So if you are a Dragon Shield user, feel free to use my affiliate link, which will be linked down below, and you can use the code VILLAIN5 to get 5% off your purchase. I do receive a payment for every person that uses my link and makes a payment, so full transparency. You would be supporting the channel, but if you're someone that uses Dragon Shield anyway, then there you go. Maybe there's 5% off, and you can support the channel. So yeah, mind blown. Very thankful to Dragon Shield for taking me on as an affiliate. They sent me a box of goodies, a lot of which I'm going to end up giving away. I've got giveaways planned for the channel. I'm going to give away some of this Dragon Shield stuff. And for Ursula's Return, I'm probably going to give away another trove associated with my Whatnot sponsorship. So stay tuned for all of that jazz. But other than that, we've got a lot of cards to get through, so let's jump straight in. But never forget that this channel is sponsored by Cardmarket. So if you're looking for singles, then check out Cardmarket for all your trading card game needs. So to start us off, we have Cinderella Melody Weaver from Amber. The Enchanted, I'm a big fan of this set as well. I know that they're not everyone's cup of tea, but I've been a big fan of all the Enchanted cards that we've seen so far. And Cinderella, once again, getting that treatment, no surprise to me. She's one of the most famous characters in the game. But yeah, we have the Amber Cinderella Melody Weaver, 5-cost inkable, 1/5, quest for 2, singer 9, and beautiful voice. Whenever this character sings a song, your other princess characters gain +1 lore this turn. So straight away, I don't think this is great. Again, like, obviously singer 9 sounds great, but singing Be Prepared doesn't sound like great value, and if we were going to go down that road, we'd just use the singer 7 Ariel, the 4-drop. But this really is going to take advantage of those Sing Together songs, Second Star to the Right, Mob Song, Look at This Family, most relative to Amber that Cinderella is in. So she's definitely going to be able to either completely sing these Sing Together songs on her own or contribute nearly all of it. The highest cost ones are 10, so this and any other character that can sing a song that can exert would get your 10 cost songs out. As time goes on, I'm not a believer in the 10 cost songs as much as I was. I think Zephyr made a good point to me on the podcast that we did the other day. Thank you to everyone, by the way, who checked out the podcast and left nice comments on that. Really great feedback for that, so that will definitely return in the future. Not too much though. I want to make it like a rare and special thing. I'm thinking like twice a format, maybe 3 times a format. We'll see, but I don't want to overdo it. But yeah, thank you to everyone that checked that out. But yeah, Zephyr said he quite liked the Mob Song from his initial impression with Steel Amber, because there's some quite easy lines you can make to get there, but they mostly involve Ariel, the 3-drop Ariel, and the 1-drop Cinderella, which is Singer 3. I'm not convinced we need this right now. I could be wrong if these sing together songs end up being really good, and don't get me wrong, I think the inkable ones are better. Like, I think Look at This Family is good. I like Dig a Little Deeper in Sapphire just because it's ramp anyway, and I think it's just a combo deck. So I actually like Dig a Little Deeper still a bit more than most people for Sapphire. Could be wrong. But yeah, the inkable ones are definitely a bit better. And I like Look at This Family, and obviously this is a character that can sing that. But you could sing this as like Look at This Family with other things as well. I think there's better ways of getting there. I'm not sold on this Cinderella straight away. Maybe in the future. But again, good to have more singers. I'd love to have them in other colours though. Come on, what's going on? Next up for Steel, we've got Avalanche. 4-cost uninkable action. Deal 1 damage to each opposing character, and you may banish chosen location. A little snow never hurt anyone. That big rock, however. Give me Shang Yu, man. So many Mulan cards, and no Shang Yu. People are complaining now about Mushu, and I'm here like, give me Shang Yu. But yeah, obviously it's a weaker grab your swords. You can also banish a location. I mean, hey, if location meta becomes the meta, like every deck is running loads of locations, even then I'm not convinced you play this. I think you just run Rise of the Titans because it's an inkable way to deal with locations. You would just run that and grab your swords. I don't know, I'm not convinced by this. I mean, the fact that it's a 4-cost, the fact we can sing it a turn sooner, then we'd be able to sing, grab your swords. I don't know, it's an interesting one, but I think other cards just outshine it while it's uninkable. Next up a Ruby, we've got Beast Wounded, 3-cost inkable, 2/6, quest for 2, and that hurts. This character enters play with 4 damage. I'm a big fan of this card, love the art as well, absolutely beautiful. It wasn't the severity of the wounds, but the sickly substance that caused such unbearable pain. Ursula's having her way. Yeah, I love this art, and I really, really love this card. This sets up real nice for Rapunzel. There's another Ruby character to look at. I think it's a Mulan, which has an ability like this, does self-damage. Amber Ruby just looking real good, and like not even necessarily with Mufasa. There are going to be good Mufasa builds, but I'm seeing Amber Ruby builds in my head that don't even need it. There's so much synergy here and so many new toys to play with. But yeah, obviously we already had, we're getting the Mulan, which is a 1-drop that enters play with 2 damage. She's a 2/3. We've already got Mother Gothel, and now this is a way of doing it on turn 3. They can't always have Baboon, fire the cannons, whatever it is to deal with these. So just more ways of being able to set up Rapunzel. Also, there's things like Grandpappy who benefit from removing damage. Yeah, I'm a big fan of this card, and worth mentioning if you're playing with Steel, which I still don't think there's much reason to play red with Steel. I mean, yeah, if you're playing Pirates, then there's a reason to do it. But if we're talking at a major competitive level, I don't see Ruby Steel being much of a thing. I'd love to be wrong. But yeah, if you are playing that combination, this is a shift target for your tragic hero. So yeah, big fan of this card. And another beast for Steel, 3-cost inkable, 2/3, quest for 1 and resist. Again, it's already in Steel, so if you want a shift target for your tragic hero beast, instinctively, I'm not sure you would. I mean, Tragic Hero Beast like doesn't even make the cut in all Steel base decks or Steel Amber decks. It's like it may be 50% of them, and I don't know if those decks that are playing it also then want to dedicate 4 spots to this. But maybe they do, just because being able to shift out Tragic Hero Beast on 4 sounds pretty good. There's less that like you still have to worry about ping damage cards that are just gonna like do some damage and stop you drawing, but you don't need to worry about Medusa for a couple of turns. Instinctively, I don't think this naturally jumps into any deck that's running Tragic Hero. Maybe, but we'll see. But it's just good to have another shift target. Next up, we have Bruno Madrigal, Undetected Uncle. 4-cost inkable, 3/3, has that Madrigal characterization that is important for the Madrigals. Quest for 1, evasive, and you just have to see it. Exert, name a card, then reveal the top card of your deck. If it's the named card, put that card into your hand and gain 3 lore. So this is interesting. Obviously, there are cards that we can use to manipulate the top of the deck. Ursa's Cauldron, the boss is on a roll. Yzma, Jafar, there's a few. But it just seems a bit slow to me, especially because this is an exert ability. If this was when questing and when coming to play, this would be so much better. As it stands, I don't know if it's just going to take too long to get this combo off to know what the top card is. I mean, it is nice that you add it to your hand, so it's drawing a card. And then the gain 3 lore. I mean, it's in some ways, it's you can draw similarities to Arthur from Rise of the Floodborn, who quests and then you return another character to your hand to gain 2 lore, but you gain the lore from Arthur questing. So you essentially exert, gain 3 lore, return a character to your hand. But there's benefits there because a lot of Amethyst cards have effects that go off when you return to hand, plus you're just protecting things. Although he is uninkable and a lower cost. I don't know, I think it's probably a bit too slow. Broom deck, maybe? If Broom deck is a thing, just because so many of the characters are just magic brooms? Maybe there's something there. I'm not sold on him completely, but it is an interesting ability that is quite powerful if you can get it off, so we'll see. Next up, we've got Diablo, Maleficent Spy. Beautiful artwork. Love this silhouette of Maleficent in the background. 1 cost Ingable, 1/2, and Scout Ahead. When you play this character, you may look at each opponent's hand. So interesting, obviously, because we have the Floodborn Diablo, the 3 cost uninkable. Although if you're shifting that, then you are discarding, and is it an action card? Yeah, you're discarding an action. So you're essentially going -2 if you shift onto this. But that Diablo can net you some card draw to make up for it. He's got evasive. If you're shifting, it means that you can quest immediately to start drawing cards as soon as your opponent starts their turn. So there's something there. I think the ability is interesting as well. Information is good. In Emerald as well, maybe it's a way that you can scout out if it's the right time to play your Ursa Deceiver to snipe a song. I do like this card. I just think the 1-drop is such a competitive slot in Emerald as it is, and like whatever you're paired with, like whether you're with Steel or whether you're with Amethyst. Steel, sometimes you want to put down Captain Hook. Amethyst might want to put down Rafiki, and then obviously from Emerald, there's things like Cursed Merfolk. So I think it's just quite a competitive spot, but if you think of it as just, it doesn't have to be your 1-drop. It can just be an extra 1-drop, especially if you're combined with Amethyst, where they just want characters on board, so you can bounce foxes and things like that. So that's good, obviously, because we can reuse this ability. And if you just think of it as something to put down later in the game just to scout, I think there's a world for this. The text is interesting as well. Keep an eye on the Sea Witch, my pet. Tell me everything. This is really cool. I have a theory. I think that, although to be fair, I say this, I think it's Warwick Levron, who does a lot of videos based on the lore. Really good content as well. I saw they put up a video and I was like, yes, exactly. I think it was along the lines of Hades is going to be the new big bad in the next, like this 4 sets told one story, like the Ursula story. So I think Hades is going to be the big bad in the next 4 sets. But this bit of text does make me wonder if maybe this is just like really, this is long-term storytelling. She's going to be the main villain of set 10 or something. But yeah, interesting card. Next up, Donald Duck, Musketeer Soldier, Joachim van Gaal, same artist that has done a lot of the Musketeers and did the artwork for the Mickey Mouse Musketeer Captain, who I had the pleasure of revealing. 3 cost Ingable, 2/3, Musketeer keyword, Bodyguard, quest for 1, words are hard, and wait for me. When you play this character, chosen character gets +1 lore this turn. So yeah, pretty cool. If you watched my reveal on Musketeer Captain Mickey, then I did a whole breakdown on ways that deck could potentially work. And obviously a big emphasis on Bodyguarders because that's how he draws. The 3-drop slot is quite competitive because it could also be the Prince or Hercules. But I suppose maybe this gives us room to not have to play with Steel. Maybe we have enough Bodyguards that we can play with another colour. I think you'd still want to play with Steel, but again, it's nice to have more options so that we don't feel like that we have to. And if there are other combinations that we can get with other inks, some nice synergies, then we can look into them. And yeah, I advertised it as a early to mid-range aggro deck anyway. So, I mean, to be fair, if you go 1-drop and then play Pooh on 2 and then put this down on 3, then Pooh is questing for 4. So that's quite interesting. And again, just the fact that he's a musketeer, he's a hero as well. There's just hero synergy as well in general, like Philatites. Yeah, I mean, it's another good card for that fun musketeer archetype, which I don't think I'm convinced isn't going to be tier 1 or tier 0, but could be among the better of the fun decks. I think Musketeers and Madrigals could be like rogue, fun, maybe get some wins in high-level play decks this season. We'll see. Next up, Flynn Rider, Frenemy, 2-cost Inkable for Ruby, 2/2 stat line quest for 1, and narrow advantage at the start of your turn if you have a character in play with more strength than each opposing character. Gain 3 lore. So this is a strong ability, and yeah, I mean, it just kind of forces certain plays from the opponent, even if they're not optimal sometimes, because they won't always have cared about getting something out that's got higher strength than your guys. They might just want a world of other things. So maybe this makes them play in a way where they instead prioritize getting a character down that's just a big beat stick just to stop you gaining the lore. And yeah, mid to late game, you put down a Maui, a Scar, anything with that sort of 5, 6, 7 strength reach, and add this, then that's incredible pressure to add. And maybe it baits removal just to stop you gaining the lore. Yeah, it's an interesting card. It's definitely pretty strong. Instinctively, I just don't know if it's something I want to slip into my Ruby Amethyst deck straight away. Maybe if I was playing more of an aggro build with like Arthurs and Lafus, but then if you're doing that, you're probably not playing a lot of characters with a lot of strength. Also interesting, like turn 1 Felicia, who has the 3/1 stat line, and then they desperately need to get down a character that has more than 3. I think that's quite achievable though, because like you put this down on your turn 2, they have their turn 2. I don't know, maybe not. But they could bait you into an unfavourable trade, but probably not in time. You go Felicia turn 1, they put down a character. You go turn 2, you put this down. You can't challenge with the Felicia yet, even though she's got Reckless, because they haven't exerted. They couldn't have. So it then goes into. So we put this down turn 2. Turn 3. Sorry, their turn 2. They now have to get down a character that has at least 3 strength. Otherwise, we're gaining 3 lore straight away. So that is quite a strong opening turn. I'm not sure. There's definitely potential here. Next up, we have Fortisphere, 1-cost Inkable from Steel. It's an item. Resourceful. When you play this item, you may draw a card. An Extract of Steel. Pay 1 ink, banish this item. Chosen character of yours gains Bodyguard until the start of your next turn. So this is a fantastic card just because it is a 1-cost Inkable, which is an item and draws a card. This fuels Flavisham. That alone makes this good. I think in a Sapphire Steel deck, like there's a good chance I don't know if you max out on Porps and Fortispheres, but I think maybe you play 4 Porps, 2 of this. Something on those lines might be more. I do think Porp is probably slightly better in more situations. I think the healing damage is relevant, and of course you don't have to pay any ink. But this is only 1 additional ink for the Extract of Steel, and giving Bodyguard could be really useful. And again, our Musketeer deck, give ourselves another Bodyguard so that Mickey's drawing another card when he's played. So gonna help that. Yeah, no, this is a really good card just because it is a 1-cost Inkable, that item that draws a card. So yeah, brilliant. Next up for Amber, we've got Gaston, Despicable Dealer. This art goes way too hard. 3-cost uninkable, 2/4, quest for 1, and Dubious Recruitment. Exert, pay 2 ink less for the next character you play this turn. So similar to Doc is only 1 less to this 2. They're both 3-cost, but Gaston is uninkable, quest for 1 less, and has 1 more willpower. So is there a world where you want this over Doc or on top of Doc? And again, you played this turn 3. Now on turn 4, you're playing 6 drops if you want to. But if you're playing a Mufasa deck, I think you would just go Doc, because in a lot of situations you would prefer the Mufasa drop over a 6 drop. It depends. Sometimes it'd be really nice to get down the Tremaine or the Medusa, so that could change. But I think in a lot of situations you really want your Mufasas down. So in that case, Doc is kind of enough. But I think this on top is pretty nice. And if you're playing a very heavy top end, maybe you are playing things like Maleficent Monstrous Dragons. I know not all the Mufasa decks are, but it's just more ways to just get you reach to these bigger characters. Yeah, I'm a fan of Gaston. I definitely want to at least try him in my Mufasa builds. Next up, Great Stone Dragon, revealed by the Mushu Report. Shout out to them. I forgot to review this in my previous set of reviews. Apologies, Musha Report. But yeah, we've got Sapphire item, 3-cost Inkable, and 2 abilities. Asleep, this item enters play exerted, and Awaken, exert, put a character card from your discard into your Inkwell face down and exerted. So really interesting ability here where our discard pile is our gas, is fueling. So obviously the disadvantages of this over something like Quill. This enters play exerted, so you can't immediately use it unless you can find a way to ready it in that same turn. But yeah, you can't immediately use this ability most of the time. Now the fact that it's a character from our discard is a double-edged sword. On the plus side, we're not using resources from the top of the deck, which most decks don't mind doing anyway. Things like Mickey, like, it's fine, you're ramping. But, I mean, if you're afraid of hitting key pieces, then this gets around that. The problem is you are limited by how big your discard pile is. Like, you can only use this as many times as you have characters in the discard pile. So late game, this feels pretty good as long as you're not running any sort of discard pile synergy. Like if you're running things like Hades or things like that that interact with the discard, then this is not good because you want them in the discard pile. Graveyard synergy. But if you're not running any graveyard synergy, then this is pretty good for being able to use that as a resource instead of milling from the top of your deck. And again, what's interesting about this is that if we can ready it, and there are a few cards that let us ready items, then we can do this multiple times in a turn. But again, I think this more often than not, this isn't coming online until past turns 5, 6, 7. By which point you're probably already fairly well ramped, assuming you've used other ramp cards like Mickey's, Fishbone Quills, One Jump Ahead. So do you need to do a big accelerated turn where you ramp, ready this, ramp again? I'm not sure if it's a need. It's a really interesting card, and I think the more cards we get that put things in the discard pile, like when we start getting cards like that, like just say put the top 3 cards of your deck straight into the discard, then things like this get a lot better. And when we get more ways of re-readying items, again, like I said, at the moment we've got a couple, but I don't think they're good enough. But this is a really interesting one that I think in time could get a lot better. Next up for Emerald, we've got another location, Hidden Cove, Tranquil Haven. 1 cost Inkable, 1 to move there, 6 willpower, no passive law, and Revitalizing Waters. Characters get +1 strength and +1 willpower while here. So I think this is quite interesting because it's only 1 to move here, to move there, then essentially think of this as if you've got the 2 ink, then any character can get a +1 strength or a +1 willpower. And that is better than it initially sounds. Just getting the +1 strength can keep things out of range. Medusa, there's a Sisu card to look at here. There's Cloud Kicker from the previous set. There are a few cards that care about specific strengths. So if you are keeping yourself out of range, then that's stronger than some people might immediately assume. And again, it's just a math fixer. And math fixing is good, and the additional willpower is really good. Like, because again, a lot of decks build to be able to specifically hit the numbers that they know they need to hit against meta threats. And sometimes just the extra willpower on a character that, like, early game, that they're not equipped to deal with it, having that extra willpower, can be game-changing. No passive law gain hurts, but I do think this ability is really good. And again, with more characters that just like having locations, like John Silver, Shenzu, the Hyena, then I think this is a very reasonable 1-drop. And again, this ability, like, it's not crazy by any means. It's probably not good enough. But it could be, again, as a meta response, if this +1 strength, like, matters to enough of the meta, I wouldn't write this off. Next up, for Amethyst, we have a 1-cost Broom! A Luminary Keeper, 1-cost Inkable, 1/2. Nice and quest for 1, nice and tidy. Whenever you play another character, you may banish this character to draw a card. Just a few barnacles away from retirement. Oh, my guy. I'm sorry, you can't retire, you just got here. We need to cook with you. We need you. The community desires you. But yeah, 1-cost Broom, exactly what we needed to get any sort of legs off on this Broom archetype. And yeah, an interesting ability. Like it's has similarities with Chernobog's followers. I think obviously that's better because you quest to draw the card. So yeah, this is, again, it's fine. It's a perfectly fine ability, being able to dig a little bit more. Yeah, great to have another magic broom. Next up we have Make the Potion. This art is incredible. Mwah! Love it. Emerald, 2 cost, uninkable. Choose one, banish chosen item, or deal 2 damage to chosen damaged character. I like the versatility. I think being uninkable just hurts it so much. I think in Emerald you would play Has Set My Heart or Wildcat. I think these are better. Maybe I'm underestimating it. I don't know. I just feel like you would play other cards, unfortunately. But I love the art. I hope I'm wrong. I want to see it in play. Next up, we got Max, Loyal Sheepdog. Look at this good boy. Look how happy my boy is. Look at this good boy. For Amber, we got 3 cost Ingable, 4/3, quest for 1. And here, boy, if you have a character named Prince Eric in play, you pay 1 less ink to play this character. Even when we get a 1-drop Eric, I think this is really good, being able to drop a 4/3 on turn 2. That's an incredible stat line. As it stands, we don't have a 1-cost Eric, so I don't think it's great. I think it's good exactly turn 2. And again, like, then you're also cheating singing as well. Like, you play this turn 2, then immediately on turn 3 we can sing a 3-cost song with him. So that's pretty good. Yeah, one drop Eric, I think will make this pretty good. Next we've got Megara, Captivating Cynic. 3 cost uninkable, 3/6, quest for 2, and Shady Deal. When you play this character, choose and discard a card or banish this character. I'm a big fan of this. Artabax talked about this on the podcast the other day and brought up that it's the same stat line as Robin Hood, 3/6 and quest for 2. Obviously doesn't have the abilities and also is lacking the cost, which is the good thing about shifting that Robin Hood. You can sing your higher cost songs. So you can't do that. But just in terms of the stat line, and it's very similar because you discard a card, which is the same as shifting because you lose the 1-drop Robin Hood. So yeah, I think this is really good and really respectable stat line. I think this will definitely see play. And yeah, it dies to Medusa. Who cares? You get 3 turns before that's going to happen. So yeah, brilliant card. I think this definitely sees play. Next up we have Mickey Mouse. I would have loved to have seen this card before I revealed my Mickey Mouse Musketeer. I'm grateful, Ravensburg. If you're watching, I'm not being ungrateful. I'm sorry. Don't take reveals away from me. But it would have been nice to see this. I get it. Real talk, I get it. This was someone else's reveal. I got the legendary Mickey Mouse. I'm not complaining. But again, like, I spent so much of that video saying, yo, if we had a 1 or a 2-drop Mickey, some of this changes. But nonetheless, we do indeed have that 2-drop Mickey. The ability gives Challenger 2 to a chosen character when he's played. 1/3 stat line. Yeah, if you want to play, again, not only for the Musketeer deck, but for the Broom deck, we've now got a perfect shift target for the Broom Mickey Mouse. So yeah, in those 2 archetypes, whether they end up being particularly good or not, this will see at least some casual play because I want to play Brooms and I want to play Musketeers, and this is the hero we needed. Next up is that Mulan I mentioned earlier. For Ruby, 1 cost Inkable, 2/3, quest for 1, and Battle Wound, where this character enters play with 2 damage. So yeah, similar to when I was talking about the Beast earlier. Another great setup for your Rapunzel. And again, just all these cards that like Grandpuppy. Oh, also worth mentioning, I should have mentioned it when we looked at the Beast earlier, but the new Belle, is it Mystic Sorceress or something like that? The new one in Amethyst, the great art that moves 3 damage counters. Yeah, I think that now that I know I do that nearly every video. Thanks for sticking with me. But yeah, if we have more cards that do this self-damage, then that becomes better. Although it does make Vision Slab better. The Emerald item, where if your opponent has damaged characters, then you gain a lore, and it also stops damage counters being removed. So I quite like that though. Like we're getting this new support for this new way of playing the deck, but already like the kind of hard counter already exists. But yeah, I think this is really good. Next up, we have new Pain and Panic cards. Love the different style of art to the ones that we got before. Again, that's something I love about Lorcana, letting different artists express these characters in different ways. But yeah, Pain, 3-cost Inkable Vanilla 2/4, and Panic, 4-cost Inkable 3/3 Quest for 2, and Reporting for Duty. While this character is exerted, if you have a character named Pain in play, your villain characters can't be challenged. Just anything that's like specific to villains, I'm always going to be happy about. I don't know if it's good enough. Again, we don't have to play these two together. Like, we could play this Panic with the old Pain. To be fair, you could play all of them. Yeah, I think if you're building a villain deck, I think there are better cards that provide synergy. But hey, not being able to be challenged is okay. But then this character has to be exerted for that to work, and then they just take out this, and then they challenge your villain characters. Yeah, I don't think it's good enough, unfortunately, but again, love the art and the way they line up together. Love it. Next up in Emerald, we got Pete, Born to Cheat. 2-cost Uninkable 2/3, Villain and Musketeer. Quest for 1, and I clobber you. Whenever this character quests, while he has 5 strength or more, return chosen character with 2 strength or less to their player's hand. So obviously that's the thing for Pete. He gets abilities when his strength is raised, similar to the bad guy, the Emerald one that we got before. But yeah, I mean, if we're playing in it with a deck that manipulates strength well, to be fair, Emerald already has a couple of characters. The old Pain or Panic gives a +2 to strength, which isn't enough for this. But if we can boost this up through various means, if we're playing with Amber, that Amber has a lot of ways of boosting strength, like the Queen. To be fair, what's it called? The Chapter 1 Emerald card. Vicious Betrayal. That makes this immediately 5 strength because he's a villain. So yeah, you play this on 2 and then turn 3, play a Vicious Betrayal, go to 5, quest, and return a 2-cost or less character. Interesting, uninkable. I don't think it's good enough. Next up, we have Prince Phillip. I don't have an English version of this card, but 9-cost inkable 6/6. Shift for 6, quest for 3. He has evasive, and the ability is when he enters play, all characters your opponent controls with at least 1 damage are banished. So really cool. I like similarities with obviously Maleficent Monstrous Dragon, which is who he's fighting here. Of it also a banish effect, but can potentially be the whole board or just multiple characters. But they need damage on them. Also gets around ward, which is really interesting. And I like that he has evasive, so he can be taken out by the Maleficent Monstrous Dragon's Dragonfire ability, but can't be taken out by her challenging. I don't know why one makes sense and the other doesn't, but I like it anyway. But yeah, this is a really cool card. All of our Prince Phillips aren't great, and most of them are uninkable. And I think Shift 6 is a lot. I think this is so expensive, and again, unfortunately, it's yes, you can potentially wipe a whole board here or just multiple characters, but it's conditional. Like if they don't have damage, then this is just bad. I don't know. I really like him. I just think he's too expensive. I think this needed to be Shift 5, like cost 8. I don't know. Like his stat line is really good. Is out of range of Zeus. Again, evasive. Quest for 3. I want it to be good enough. I don't think it's going to be. Unfortunately, even if we get more good inkable Prince Phillips, I just don't. I'm not sure. I really like it. I mean, I suppose if you think of it as okay, even if you don't get the ability off, he's still a 6/6 with evasive that quests for 3, but so expensive. I don't know. I don't know if I believe, but I want to believe. Right, I need to hurry up. I've spent way too long talking about certain cards. I've still got a lot to get through. For Steel, our next legendary is Piglet, Sturdy Swordsman. In love with him. Love this art. 5-cost uninkable 3/5. Quest for 3. Resist 1. And not so small anymore. While you have no cards in your hand, this character can challenge ready characters. This is a really strong ability, but having it locked behind no cards in hand, I don't think it's great. And he's unfortunately uninkable. So as cool as he is, I don't think he's good enough. Next up for Amber, we have Prince Eric, Ursula's Groom, 6-cost inkable, 5/5, quest for 2, shift 4, and under Vanessa's spell. While you have a character named Ursula in play, this character gains bodyguard and gets +2 willpower. So it has been confirmed, that if you already have an Ursula in play, you cannot put this onto the field already exerted. It will have bodyguard as soon as it hits the field, and we'll get that +2 to willpower, but you can't put it in exerted unless you are shifting onto a previous Prince Eric, or even then you can't put it. If your shift target Prince Eric was already exerted, then yes, this comes in exerted because you have to. But if you're not shifting this, then no, you can't put this in already exerted. I don't think it's great. Again, it's more bodyguard support. So if we are playing a bodyguard deck, new keyword coming, bodybuilder. That would be challenger, really, wouldn't it? But yeah, in a bodyguard deck, I don't know. I still don't think it naturally fits in with what else you would play. It's a really interesting ability. Love the art, how it lines up with the Ursula card, but I don't think it's good enough. I don't know. I'm still staring at this. Like, 5/5 is pretty respectable. It's out of, like, if you get the +2 to will... If you have an Ursula in play, then you're out of range of Along Came Zeus. It's a pretty good stat line. I just don't think it's... Other than that, it's... What's it really doing? It's another bodyguarder. If you've got a lot of bodyguard synergy, then maybe. No, I don't think it's good enough. Next up, we have Raya for Steel, Unstoppable Force, 7 cost Ingable, 3/6, Quest for 2, Challenger 2, Resist 2, and you gave it your best. During your turn, whenever this character banishes another character in a challenge, you may draw a card. These are all really strong abilities. If you can give this Rush, then I think this is pretty good. Like, if this was a Floodborn, this would be brilliant. This would be one of the best Floodborns we have immediately, I think. But... dies to Medusa, unfortunately, is one of its real drawbacks. It's Princess. Yeah, I think you need to give this Rush, because then you could immediately get value, do a big challenge, take something out, probably more than likely live the hit, and draw a card. Yeah, I think the 3 strength really kills this. And it's similar to, we looked at Piglet a minute ago. That's one of the other main reasons I don't like Piglet, because he dies to Medusa. Maybe I said that. But yeah, Raya, really cool card. I don't think it's good enough, unfortunately, with the meta how it is at the moment. Next up, we got Sisu, a really interesting one. Daring Visitor, 3 cost uninkable, 1/1, quest for 1, evasive, and bring on the heat. When you play this character, banish chosen opposing character with 1 strength or less. So that's not insignificant. All of the aggro stuff, like the Curse Merfolk, the Flynn, like things like Pinocchio and Simba, the quest for 3 ones, and Lilo and Maleficent, all those cards. Flavisham is a big target for this. Stylish Surfer Mini. So there are a lot of targets for this, and if we're playing with Amber, then there's a lot of stuff that we can do to reduce costs. I think this finds its way more likely into an Amber Ruby build, where it's more consistent that we can lower their strength. Outside of that, I just think putting this down on turn 3 is too late for most of the targets that we'd want to remove. Like, Curse Merfolk's already sat there and quested a couple of times, and this is uninkable, which is the main thing that hurts it. It's a cool card. I don't think I would be adding it into Ruby Amethyst. I think it's too slow for being an uninkable. But with Ruby Amber, there could be something there. Training Grounds is a really interesting one. 1 cost inkable location for Ruby. 1 to move there, 5 willpower, no passive law gain, and strength of mind. Pay 1 ink. Chosen character here gets +1 strength this turn. So the really interesting thing about this is you can use this as many times as you want. As long as you've got the ink to use it, you can just keep buffing characters. And I think that is such a strong ability. This is going to be a math fixer throughout the game. It's always going to make your opponent reconsider their questing, or just their actions in general, their moves in general, should I say. Because with this, then anything can suddenly become strong enough. Obviously, well, no, in Ruby there's a lot of rush characters, so yeah, I think this is pretty good. Maybe it's bait, or maybe it's just not good enough. But again, like, I just try not to underestimate cheap math fixers. Because I really like Lumiere that we looked at in the previous set of reviews, and that's just +1 strength to all characters, but it's on a body. Some worlds you're going to prefer it on a body, some worlds you're going to prefer it on a location. And it is only for this turn. I don't know, it's an interesting one. It's going to be really good in sealed. Next up, we've got 3 Tritons to look at, all from Sapphire. First off, our 3 cost uninkable Discerning King, 3/3 quest for 1, and exert, banish 1 of your items, gain 3 lore. I think this is quite similar to, I made a comparison to Arthur earlier, which is, you know, you quest, gain the lore from questing, and then you bounce a character to your hand to gain 2. So similar, we're exerting, we're gaining 3 lore, but we're banishing one of our items. It's pretty strong. It's an uninkable. But I do think this is pretty strong, especially if we're playing with steel, where not only do we have Portugal, we have the steel item, 1-drop item that draws a card as well. Yeah, I think this is okay. I imagine there's a world where we see some sort of just like really mid-range, aggressive Sapphire deck. Because there's a few like characters that really care about items, like the Ariel, who I said I didn't think was great, and I may have underrated. A lot of people disagreed with me, and that's perfectly fine. I'm happy to be wrong. But this one I've got a little bit more hope for some reason. Yeah, he's cool. We also have, this was a big surprise to me, but love to see it, Triton, Young Prince. 4-cost inkable, 3/4 quest for 1. Superior Swimmer. During your turn, this character gains Evasive. And Keeper of Atlantica. Whenever one of your locations is banished, you may put that card into your inkwell, face down and exerted. Unfortunately, probably isn't strong enough with these abilities. I don't think the Evasive is much to shout about with this particular stat line. Obviously the second ability is interesting, but how many locations are you playing? So I don't have huge hopes for him unless we really want to play the Floodborn Triton, who will go straight on to new legendary, 9-cost inkable, 7/9, shift 6, quest for 3, and imposing presence. Opposing characters get -1 strength for each location you have in play. So if there is a location deck to be built here that can benefit from Sapphire, then there's some nice synergy here. This Triton, the first one that we looked at, the uninkable, and the inkable, because oh no, the first one is for items. But the Young Prince, if our locations are banished, then they become ink. And this just lowers strength. It's not the strongest ability. I mean, I just gave a whole speech on how manipulating strength can be really strong. But this is such an expensive card to be able to do it. I don't know. I'm not convinced. I need to see more of a location-heavy meta before I think, okay, I think Champion of Atlantica, that is going to have some legs behind him. Well, he never will. He's a merman. But nonetheless, interesting card, probably not good enough. My favourite Triton card, though, is Tritons Decree, a steel action, 1-cost uninkable. Each opponent chooses one of their characters and deals 2 damage to them. So I really like this. This gets around Ward. So this is going to be really nice to help with the Buckies and the Prince Johns, unless they played any other character on turn 1 who they're happy to just lose with this. Then it just completely shuts it down. But if they can't do that, then this is a really nice response card to a turn 2 Bucky, or to a turn 3 Prince John. Again, if they didn't play a single character turns 1 or 2. I think you're more likely to be able to hit a Bucky with this than a Prince John. But it's a really interesting ability, and yeah, one to keep an eye on as our meta shapes. Next up, we have Tuk Tuk from Ruby, Lively Partner, 3-cost inkable, 2/3, quest for 1, evasive, and on a roll. When you play this character, you may move him and one of your other characters to the same location for free. The other character gets +2 strength this turn. You have to move another character to a location to give them this +2 strength. If you don't move a different character to a location, they can't benefit from this. It's been confirmed in the official Discord, which really hurts this card, unfortunately. If the +2 strength was guaranteed, then I think this replaces Crab. I honestly do, even though Crab is a strength more and gives a strength more, and also his ability procs when he leaves play. I think just the +2 is good enough a lot of the time, and the fact that we can also move our characters for free to Queen's Castle or something like that, that sounds poggers. But as it is, I don't think it's good enough. But just moving locations for free, we can't underestimate. We look at so many locations where we say, this looks good, shame it's too expensive to move there. So pick up your copies of this in a location heavy meta with Ruby, then this could find some legs. Right, rush through the last few cards. For Emerald, we've got 1-cost uninkable, Ursula's Trickery. Fantastic art by Matthew Robert Davies, who I've met, great guy. Each opponent may choose and discard a card. For each opponent who doesn't, you may draw a card. 9 times out of 10, they're not going to discard the card. They're just going to let you draw. And if that's all this is, why aren't you just playing, what's it called, the Emerald action that improvise, that gives plus strength and lets you draw a card? In which case, that's infinitely always better than this. But again, the problem with this is if you play this in a situation where you really need to dig because you have nothing, and they have cards to spare, they might just discard something just so that you don't get to dig. So I don't think this is great, but love the story being represented on this and other Ursula cards, some of which we've looked at, some of which we still got to look at. Yeah, love the theming, bad card. Continuing with the Ursula theming for Amethyst, we have Ursula's Plan, 3-cost uninkable action. Each opponent chooses and exerts one of their characters. Those characters can't ready at the start of their next turn. Cool ability, again, gets around ward. So this is going to help with Prince John's and Bucky's, but again, only if they have no other viable targets, which is the real problem here. And the problem is, like, once Prince John's got... Like, they only need to one turn of getting their value, and they've got their value. I'm not saying it's not still good to be able to get rid of them, but I don't know. I think it's probably too expensive. It's an interesting card. Definitely pick up your copies of it, because, again, this is similar to the Triton card we looked at a minute ago, where they get to choose. It's really cool, but I just think it's too easily offset, and... yeah, I don't think it's good enough. But again, love the art, love the Ursula Deceiver of All from Emerald here, working with the Amethyst Ursula. Big fan of the story that's being told here. And then onto our last Amethyst Ursula, Mad Sea Witch. 2-cost inkable, 1/3, quest for 1, and challenger 2. This is pretty good. This is like Prince Eric for Amethyst. So I wouldn't write that off if you think of it as just a 2-cost 3/3. And again, there's a Floodborn Ursula. Yeah, I think this is okay. If there is a world where the Floodborn Ursula is good enough, then this definitely gets added. If not, I still think there's a chance, just because it's a 2-cost, for all intents and purposes, 3/3, as long as you're challenging. So yeah, cool card. Here's the Zues that we mentioned earlier, 3-cost inkable, Mr. Lightning Bolts, 0/5, quest for 2, and target practice. Whenever this character challenges another character, he gets strength. He gets a plus strength equal to the strength of chosen character this turn. So you can choose any character on the board to get the plus strength, even one of your own. You could boost Zeus's strength with Crab and then choose himself, and then suddenly his strength is +6. But yeah, I quite like this just as a card that's always going to be able to match the strength of the thing it's challenging. And a lot of cards, their strength is bigger than their willpower. There are exceptions. But yeah, I think this is okay, and questing for 2. The problem is 0 strength, like just so many cards just bounce it. So that's probably what's going to keep it at bay. Probably not good enough, but cool card. And the last one we'll look at, very fitting, I think, for moi, is another location, 2-cost inkable, the Underworld. He ruled the Underworld. The River Styx. 2 to move there. Gross. 6 willpower, 1 passive lore gain, and save a soul. Whenever a character quests while here, you may pay 3 to return a character card from your discard to your hand. I love this ability. You can turn... you can basically give any character the Hades effects as long as he quests. Obviously, Hades is a come into play ability. But yeah, if you've got a character on board, move him here, quest him, get the Hades effect of returning character to your hand. And that is really strong. 2 to move here is probably too expensive. But again, if we can make it cheaper somehow with cards that let us move for free or cheaper, I still want this to be good enough, though, you know, even paying 2 to move there, because you're +1ing on cards. It's like draw a card, but you're choosing the specific card from your discard. So mid to late game, this can be really strong. And again, it does have 1 lore, which isn't irrelevant. Yes, you're paying 3 to also use this ability. I don't know, it's very expensive. You pay 2 to put it down, 2 to move there, and then 3 for the ability. It's probably too expensive, but I don't know, like, maybe not this format, but I feel like this is too iconic of a place and too cool of an ability to not get some synergy. Like, give us a Floodborn Hades in Amber, who lets us move characters to locations for free, and hopefully a bit more than that, but give us some more synergy to make this playable. I want to play it. And that is it. I've missed a couple, but I think I've been through the majority, and definitely all the ones with any amount of potential, I would say. But yeah, that's the lot. Ursula's Return. I know a lot of people have said it seems underwhelming. I love this set. I will never financially recover from this. I never ever. So many cards I want, even if it's just for the art and just for my collection. And there's a few things here that are going to see competitive play. I don't think it's going to change as much as like the change in meta from seasons 1 to 2 and 2 to 3, I think, have been quite big in how they developed to a degree. Maybe seasons 1 to 2, maybe that's not accurate, but we still got the deck. The way that Ruby Amethyst played changed, but the change from sets 2 to 3 was huge. I don't think you're going to see as big of a jump from sets 3 to 4. I think a lot of decks are going to stay relatively the same, but there's going to be some additions that are going to liven up the meta. There's some cards that I'm really excited to play with and test, even if it's just from a fun perspective. But yeah, that is pretty much everything. What is your favorite card that we've reviewed today? What have I overrated? What have I underrated? Let me know down below. I'm also putting very serious thoughts into doing my first live stream. I want to do a tier list for all the cards. Now that I've done my first impressions videos for all the cards, I think the day before the set goes live, so like the 16th or around that time, I'm considering doing a live stream of doing a tier list of every single card. I'm not sure. I will need people to like really say that they want that for me to like really follow through, because I have anxiety when it comes to the idea of live streaming on my channel for reasons that I'm not going to go into. But it's something that I'm considering. Would you like that? Would you like your first live stream? I mean, I've done live streams as a guest on other people's channels. But is that something you'd like to be able to like interact with, and we can talk about the rankings? Let me know down below. But yeah, that's pretty much it from me for now. Thank you so much for watching. If you're brand new to the channel, please subscribe for all things Lorcana. Hit that like button to show your support, and we'll see you soon.